It was January of 2015, and I was very bored. It was right after I'd become interested in the genetic engineering of plants, and I had been doing a lot of research on how to force genetic mutations when I came across a massive urban legend in the stoner community. It turned out there was a group of stoners on the internet who believed there existed an Australian species of cannabis. It was the Yeti of the stoner world. Few had witnessed it, but many had heard of it, and its appearance was very valuable. The mythical Australian cannabis looks nothing like its cousins, which means it could be crossbred with a common species to create a plant that could be grown in someone's front yard without anyone the wiser. This stealthy contraband would sell for a fortune on the black market to illegal cannabis breeders. That's when I started thinking, would I be able to kill an urban legend? If I did everything correctly, I could convince thousands of people that the story was real, and then I could destroy it once and for all by exposing it as a hoax. I also figured it wouldn't be too difficult because my target audience was on drugs. That's when I started writing a fake news article. I knew there were a few important details I would need to add in order for the story to be believable, so I made sure to say the word scientists in the story's title. I also wanted to mention someone famous, so I said that the researcher's name was Christopher Poole, just like the guy who started 4chan.org, an internet message board for stoners. To make it extra believable, I also added pop star Meghan Trainor's name to the article by implying a possible relationship with the creator of 4chan. Then I finished it off with an email account I had made so that people could contact me. The article was finished, but now I needed a news website that I could post it to. I didn't want to tip any news sites off to this huge story, so I decided to make a parody of a trustworthy news site and post the article there. To do this, I would need a domain name that looked similar to the parody website's name. So I bought the domain name com-user-login.info, and then I created a subdomain named Vox. My domain name was now vox.com-user-login.info, and to anyone unfamiliar with subdomains, it would look like a realistic parody of vox.com. Next, I would need to build the parody website. I went to vox.com and looked for a news story. Then I right-clicked the screen and went to View Page Source. From here, I copied all of the HTML code and saved it as an HTML file. After editing the file in Adobe Dreamweaver, it was finally complete. So I created a directory on my subdomain and uploaded the HTML file. All of the links on the parody website would now also link directly back to the real vox.com, which would help make people believe this was a real parody website. My plan was near completion. All that was left was getting it to the top of r/trees. I had been exploiting Reddit for a few years at this point, so it wasn't much of a problem. It was actually no problem at all. I posted it to r/trees with a formulated title, and it worked. The stoners were eating right out of my hand. Now, I just needed to sit back and see how far this story would actually go. And it went pretty far. By the next day, I had received a long list of emails from people who were interested in the plant. Popular websites like hightimes.com had written articles about my story, and some had even reached out for interviews. Now, all I needed to do was plant the seed of a new idea, the idea that they had been misled. So I posted a self-text to Reddit pointing out the misleading domain URL in the original article. Soon after, some of the news websites that had blindly regurgitated my article without doing any investigation updated their stories to apologize and explain that they had been misled. Others deleted their stories altogether. These news sites were partaking in what's called churnalism. Churnalism is a word that was created to describe a type of journalism that involves the journalist writing an entire story completely based off of a story from another news site. And that's pretty much what they had all done. The work is minimal, but the risk of looking like an idiot is massive. So that's my story of how I effectively destroyed an urban legend by getting well-known websites to confirm it as a hoax. Since that day, I sometimes go to Google and search for Australian cannabis species to make sure nobody will ever believe it exists again. Thanks for watching, and follow me on Twitter or Instagram to keep up with my activities. See you next time. And some had even reached out for interviews.